I'm beyond it. All that fun shit. Hey. I got companies and pesos. I got people on my payroll. She don't do it unless I say so. I don't smoke if it ain't fuego. I should sauce them up like Prego fettuccine with Alfredo. All I wanted was the fame in every game they made on Sega. I was 5 or 6 years old when I had to
I was not expecting that. That was just like sudden death out of nowhere. Stuff just went down the wrong hole, you know? Oh, that's crazy.
That's what I call epic. Couple summers later, I got paper. I acquired taste for.
Let's double check. Make sure everything's good. And hopefully the audio is a lot better this time. Oh, okay. I finally recovered from whatever the hell that was. Let's see what this looks like. Come on. Hurry up, love. Alright, this is the horizontal one. Let's do the vertical one. That usually gets more chats. Perfect. I'll actually leave this one up so I can notice the chats. And then that's it, bro. Started out with some solid music. We're gonna go into a fucking Chris Williamson video. I was watching this one with my little bro, and we're like, yo, this is solid. You know, this is pretty good. So saved it for stream. Finally got some time to stream it out, and had to deal with freaking OBS, bro. It was crashing, doing all kinds of stuff. It was being nasty, but we got it up. We got it rolling, and we're ready to watch this video, you know, and get into it. Let's see what kind of wisdom this modern man has for us.
Is there such a thing as a Twitter dialect versus a LinkedIn dialect versus a Reddit or a live stream dialect? Are these almost individual variants on language in each of these different cohorts?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's the same way when you're in your grandmother's house versus...
They're like each their own little fucking bubble, you know what I'm saying? It's pretty weird. I feel like we're all really in our own bubbles nowadays. That's for sure. Seems to be more and more the case. Everyone seems to be more isolated in their own little fucking niches, bro. Because everyone has like their own niche now. Oh, I'm really into this. Oh, I'm really into that. Where back in the day, I feel like people would share their passions a lot more. It would be more like community-based things. And you don't really see that nowadays anymore. That's crazy.
When you're in a frat house, you have a different expectation of how to speak. You're not going to speak to your grandmother the way you would to a frat brother. There's like a normal way of communicating. So a platform functions kind of like a house. It is a place where you go to use a certain type of language. So on LinkedIn, you're going to use this more professional language. On Twitter, you're going to engage in more linguistic play where you're,
hey, what's going on,
you have all these words like jester, gooning, or whatever emerge.
How's life treating you?
On TikTok, there might be more fandom language or something, but also I don't want to speak broadly about individual platforms. Even within these platforms, there are micro dialects going on. There's K-pop groups and Swiftie groups, and they all speak kind of their own language.
What did you make of the...
Every community has like its own fucking language and lingo and stuff going on.
Fallout. I think one of the most viral instances of linguistic exposure was that Jester maxing at the club when the fights come up. Is it better to be mogging with the bros than? What did you make of that fallout?
Just that sentence itself is absolutely ridiculous. No, just hearing it, hearing someone like Chris Williamson that's like mid-30s talking like that, bro.
Same thing as a 6-7, where there's a meaning beyond what the literal meaning technically is. It's kind of a knowing wink again to the algorithm that by saying these words you can go viral. You can cash in on Clavicular's fame. He is the human 6-7.
True.
And
True.
If you talk about him, you get to go viral. That's kind of the thing. But in doing so, you can also push the trend further. And while 6-7 was innocuous, maybe Clavicular is more harmful. But that is kind of the name of the game of virality. That all
essentially, what he's saying is people are trying to write trends. Clavicular is a trend. In a community, people are trying to ride that wave. They've been doing it forever.
These things are just keywords, maxing, gooning, whatever. And you can just say that and you can go viral because the keywords are what pushes things through the algorithm and they're what people resonate with on the personal level when they're scrolling.
It also tells you something about the person using them. It's an identifier of in-group belonging.
100%. Language is a tool of identity. And when you use
100%.
you are signaling that you're part of this.
The worst, bro. is like when you go to a certain place, new situation, and then everyone speaks like very, very ghetto, like broken fucking English, and I'm like, oh shit, there's gonna be a certain type of scenario involved for sure. And I know now, yeah, cause yeah, definitely, definitely, what they're speaking about is true.
What are the most defining characteristics of
Hey, what's going on,
influencers
Kai
speaking
fandom?
online for creators?
You're a Kai fan,
How do
bro?
you think about the
You're a big Kai
constituent
fan or what?
components of that?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time working on the influencer accent. I used
This.
to consult on a court case where one
Yeah,
influencer
yeah.
was
What's
suing
going
another
on, bro?
influencer
What's
for
going
stealing
on?
her vibe, and part of that was the accent. But you know,
Hang on. Pause. What?
it
What?
was here in Austin actually. But there was one is called the Sad Beige lawsuit. That there was this minimalist influencer kind of wore a lot of brown clothing, and there was another minimalist influencer also in Austin who wore a lot of brown clothing, and they kind of spoke the same, and so one of them sued the other for stealing their IP.
What the
But you
fuck?
Which
can't
included
the
the
accent.
accent.
Exactly. So I was brought on as a consultant in that case, and
Yo,
the takeaway is that
dude,
neither
that's
of them are
random as
really
hell. What is
original,
that?
and that they pay homage to an older tradition of influencers talking like
It's a
this.
long and illustrious history of influencers speaking in this
Absolutely.
way.
I mean, I think the modern like
That's
the hey guys,
ridiculous that
welcome to
he
my
sued
podcast. That
someone
kind of like
just
the
like that.
lifestyle influencer accent. That traces all the way back to like Kim K and the Paris Hilton and early beauty
Fucking
YouTubers.
petty ass
And then
people,
that kind
bro.
of filtered into TikTok. And that same voice with the uptalk and the vocal fry is preserved because there's this thing called the linguistic founder effect where you kind of follow in the footsteps of people who came before you linguistically. And that's why also platforms
I
do
mean,
have
yeah, that
different
makes sense if you
commenting cultures and
think
different
about it.
linguistic
I
cultures.
mean, you learn
Hmm.
shit
And that's only
from your parents, from your ancestors. They teach you everything. It's kind of cool using the app. Is it the app? I don't know. Are you using the app, bro? You're asking me? It's kind of cool using the app. Question mark, is it the app? I don't know, bro. That is a good fucking
one type of
question.
influencer accent. I obviously
Pause
speak.
on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
What are they trying to achieve with the lifestyle influencer accent? What are the important parts and what's the outcome they're trying to get toward?
Yeah, great question. There's a few things going on.
Hmm.
One of it is just social signaling. It's saying I'm part of your group because that's what all of language does. So there is
Okay.
a identity marker of what it's like to be an influencer. And so you're performing this idea of an influencer, also performing relatability to the young women who are watching you. At the same time, the accent is optimized for the algorithm. There's an element of retention, which is how long you watch the video. And
Hmm.
when you drag out words, it kind of works better for captivating your audience.
Really? So the fucking
Dead silence is very bad.
so Valley Girl accent equals more views. Fuck, we're cooked, bro. I don't know. I don't know if that's true, dude, because there's so many YouTube channels where like it's huge because the guy is authentic and does not have Valley Girl accent, right? What's a good example? Fucking the car YouTuber Matt Armstrong. Dude's a stud. I mean, his shit's just he's 1000% himself. And I think that's why he gets the amount of views. Like if you look at his views, it's ridiculous. Guy's super famous, British motherfucker, cool car videos. Yeah, he's authentic and he don't have no Valley Girl accent, but I think he's making like a general statement as to how these things are perceived, which makes sense.
On the algorithm. So if you have a live stream
Like,
or something,
yeah,
you want
see,
to drag out your
Kai
final
agrees,
syllable. So
bro.
actually that
The Kai
uptalk where
fandom
you
agrees.
kind of
They should
lengthen
say,
your
yeah.
final vowel is very good for online hooking.
No way. So if you don't have your next sentence queued up, you can have a holding pattern, which is the end of the last word, so that you know what you're going to say at the end, and then after that you can work out what's coming next.
That's exactly it. In linguistics,
Holy
yeah,
fuck.
it's called floor holding. It's an actual like strategy that people use before social media. If
In
you
debate.
were on a stage, if you're on a
Shit, I've
debate,
done
you
it
want
before
to
when
keep grabbing
conversating,
people's attention.
and
So
I'm
you use
nervous,
things
bro.
like filler words. Actually, is a great example of a floor holding tactic.
When I was in the military, I used to give out tours because I worked like with horses, and obviously we had stables, so it was cool. Like people would show up, and we were in DC, so important people would show up. We would give them tours, and every now and then, bro, like you'd go through the tour, and you're like, damn, when was this barn founded? Like you've gone through the tour 100 times, but like, oh, what year was it again? And you're doing that, what he described. You're kind of lengthening a little bit the sentence. If you can make it very obvious, and then you start giving a bad tour, but if you do it right, you can just play it off. So it's not a bad strategy to incorporate.
Where you are trying to get people to keep listening to you, even
Bro,
though you
what are
don't
you
have something
doing with all
immediately to
that?
say.
Alex O'Connor taught me this great one about Christopher Hitchens, that if he was in the middle of a debate and he needed to take a sip of water or have a thought, he would get halfway through the sentence and then would continue from there. And I thought that's so fucking cool, as opposed to pausing at the end and then thinking about what he was going to say by taking, or even as you, so you might say, why is that the case? Well,
Yeah.
really, what
And
we
then
need to
boom, it
consider is,
punctuates it. Yeah.
oh, I'm waiting. So the use of
We
silence.
want to know what comes next.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same with the influencers.
Solid.
It's like if there's an up talk, there's an implied I'm not done speaking. And that's kind of the meta signal that there's something more to come. It sounds like something's unfinished when there's up talk. And when there's down talk, you'll never
Here's one
hear
thing,
down,
bro.
like, I'm done. Like, that's like a...
He's basically saying there's a little bit of science and thought behind how you incorporate the valley growth talk and why it's useful. And here's the truth, bro, that I don't know if some people want to admit. Some of these valley girls, bro, they're pretty fucking smart. Like, they know how to navigate the industry and get to the top and do, the things that they wish to accomplish. They have, like, their own goals or whatever. But some of these girls are fucking wicked smart, and they will use whatever they need to, get that advantage. And, I mean, props to them, bro. Fucking to each their own.
falling tone.
Oh, it's a handoff. There you go.
Yeah. So you will not hear that online at all because it's a signal to scroll away.
That's funny.
See,
Okay.
I've trained myself. I just said signal to scroll away. Like up talk because that's like I've sort of trained myself into speaking in I call an educational influencer accent, which is different than that lifestyle influencer accent.
Okay, give me the educational influencer accent.
The most interesting thing about that is, and I kind of stress more words to keep you watching my videos, and I'll talk a little faster, and I clearly talk quickly in real life, but I think there's a difference between a conversational style and then when I'm purely reciting a scripted video to hook you maximally for your attention.
For sure. For sure.
Okay,
there's a big
so
difference.
you're stressing individual words, speaking a bit more quickly. That's interesting that the Valley Girl, vocal
still
fry,
sending emojis, bro.
lifestyle influencer, what I get the sense of as someone who isn't exactly
he's a big emoji fan. He's a Kai fan and an emoji fan.
Is a softness, sort of welcomingness, almost a familiarity, an attempt to sort of show, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's almost welcoming you through the door, whereas it's much sharper when you're thinking about the educational influencer. But given that one is
Kai
kind
subscribed.
of slow,
Hell
although
yeah.
there's no breaks,
I just noticed,
but it's
bro.
certainly
Thank you.
not.
Appreciate that. Sorry for not noticing that earlier.
It's much more cozy. And the other is significantly more aggressive in terms of its pacing.
Absolutely. Well, it's, again, the question of what are you trying to do on the meta level? The lifestyle influencer wants you to feel like you're parasocially watching this video. An educational influencer wants you to feel like they're a trusted source of authority. And it's that level of communication that's happening there. I don't actually want you to relate to me 100%.
I'm
I want you to
sorry,
think of me as
bro.
a teacher
Sorry,
if I'm
but I
talking
got to it. I got to it.
So if you're speaking more quickly, with authority, in a
Nah,
staccato manner, it's
he's dramatic.
Brevity in the words. There's clipping. The consonants are always being pronounced pretty accurately to create shape and color. This is an interesting one. Have you looked much at diction? The way that the mouth, the functionality of the mouth, the physiology of the mouth works?
100%. I mean, that's a big part of linguistics. Yeah.
Yeah, unreal. So I just really loved the first time I ever worked with a speech coach, and he said his description to me was vowels give words color, and consonants give them structure. And one of the problems being from the northeast of the UK, we have a glottal stop, typically. So people say butter. There's two T's in butter, and they're not saying either of them, and neither was I when I was younger. By removing or by losing those consonants, you sort of fall through words. They don't have the same kind of structure, clarity, clippiness, and bringing those back in helps to give it a little bit more form.
But what you're describing here, that you've modified your speaking style for what will perform better online, is kind of exactly this greater homogenization effect that's happening. There's nothing less valid about a North England dialect than the received pronunciation or the transatlantic accent or any of these things. We just bullshit into thinking that some of these are like fancier than other accents, but it's all in our heads. And yet there's still this pressure to perform, to
There's always a pressure to perform, bro.
For my book, I interviewed a lot of Indian creators who feel like they can't speak in Indian accents because that's kind of maligned upon, right?
It's seen as low status.
I'm about that lifestyle.
And they have to kind of code switch into more British-sounding or American-sounding accents.
Wow. Well, in my defense, or at least in my mother's defense, she was sort of slapping me on the wrists and beating it out of me as a child. So I didn't make it to adulthood without saying butter correctly.
Well, that's because of an ingrained shame. There really is nothing inherently wrong with you speaking in a Northern English
I'm going to go back to it. I'm fucking going to go back to it, mate. And you fucking cannot stop me from saying butter as much as I want.
The cost is you might go less viral because the viewer has an expectation that I want you to be speaking the way I expect you to speak.
also there is a degree of legibility or illegibility.
Yeah,
If you
that's
get
true.
a strong Geordie accent from the Northeast where I'm from, or a strong Scouse accent from Liverpool,
It's gonna
it
be
is
difficult.
as close to a different language whilst being the same language. It's like one step away from speciation in terms of language.
I think
I
language
like
can
how
be
you
correctly
describe that, bro. For
described
sure, these
as
people,
following a very similar path
even in America, but you go to certain like areas and you're like, what the fuck language are you speaking? For sure, bro. For sure.
to evolution, and that there are bottleneck events and speciation events. And the algorithm, for example, I think is one such bottleneck, that it compresses our language into you have to be speaking in these widely recognizable accents, but then it speciates and creates new environments. And so on these different platforms and in the
Mhm.
different fandom communities on the platforms, you will have new outgrowths of language that have first passed through this filter event.
What else? So we've had cozy lifestyle lady. We've had educational influencer man. Mr.
There's the
Beast.
beast in the room. Yeah, I was
Yep,
about to say.
very good. What's happening with Mr. Beast's accent?
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
look
What's
at
up
his
with him?
video and if you look at how he actually speaks in interviews, they're completely different. He is
Hmm.
very deliberately switching his accent to grab your attention as much as possible. He screams in it.
Of
I just bought a
course.
private island. I'm giving away $1 million. Like he's very like ostentatious with it. He's screaming at you every sentence. Because that works for his 14-year-old viewers' attention spans.
Yeah.
He's
Think so.
speaking to a different audience than somebody trying to educate, and a different audience than somebody trying to appear relatable, because he's clearly being ostentatious. So it's reflected in his vocal style. Like, he sounds like he's about to give away $1 million, even as he does it, you know?
So it's excitement, loudness. What else?
Right.
Shock and awe, really.
Everything that's
You
enticing,
want
essentially.
the viewer to remain so dumbfounded watching the video that they don't even think to scroll away.
Hmm.
It's like
And
a
I mean,
magician. You just want to keep
think about it. What else is someone like Mr. Beast gonna optimize for? Exactly that, bro. That's his goal. So of course it would make sense he would incorporate that kind of speech to engage these individuals.
the attention going.
I
Dude.
saw a live streamer in the wild for the first time ever a couple of months ago, and I've seen live streams online. I've seen some IRL stuff, not tons, but seeing an IRL streamer from side camera or behind camera was a real experience. It was at the Beast Games 2 premiere in Hollywood,
Oh,
and what I found fascinating was, because the live stream essentially never ends until it finally does, there is this permanent edging of the audience that there will be a payoff but not yet, and there will be a payoff but not yet. At least with Beast, it's like, we're going to go to the most expensive gym in the world, but first I'm going to show you the cheapest, and now I'm going to show you one a bit more expensive, and now I'm going to, and then finally you do it, and there's a payoff, and then you're done, and the video's finished.
Yeah, different medium because it's bounded by a specific time. So you know the Beast video is 14 minutes long, but the live stream is lasting however long. It's
Yeah.
kind of like
Indefinitely.
live performers. If you go to like a public gathering and there's those people doing backflips in a crowd, like for money or whatever, they won't do the backflips immediately because nobody, like, people leave
They
immediately.
dance around for
They'll
ages.
dance around. They'll do a round of collection of the money. They'll
Yeah,
dance
yeah,
around
yeah.
some more. They'll do another round of collect. I promise, guys, we're gonna get to the backflips, and you keep watching because they're edging you. It's exactly what's happening. And if you look at like TikTok live streams, I
So
keep getting
live streams
clickbaited by
is just
this like
long-term
video of this
edging.
guy trying to peel an egg, and he gets the
Cool.
last part of the egg, and he's like,
Love
he
that.
keeps like edging us, like, I'm gonna take off this shell here. But I think there's
Jesus
something
Christ,
an
love
important
that shit,
parallel
bro.
between that
That's good.
visual way that you get clickbaited and the auditory and linguistic way that happens as well.
Okay, how so?
Well,
But that does describe how gay live streaming is, and like it can be gay for sure. And we're not trying to shoot for that. Definitely not.
live streaming, I think there is a dissolution between this online presentation and the offline presentation. I think it's particularly dangerous because it does play into this attention mechanism, but in real life where you're exploiting real people for it. Linguistically speaking, that does mean you're going to keep doing the up talks. You're going to speak in attention-grabbing manners. All of that is... Yeah, and you do kind of delay gratification. When I do a video and I script it out, I kind of don't immediately say the resolution of the question I pose at the start, and you'll see this a lot
course.
in YouTube videos.
The payoff's held until the end.
Yeah.
What other subcultures online do you think are particularly interesting linguistically?
Oh, wow. I mean, I've spent a lot of time studying the language of the manosphere. I think it's particularly interesting because half of Gen Z slang is either African-American English or it's from 4chan. And you do have a lot of those incel words trickling in.
Isn't that a crazy combination? That is true. Even I've noticed it because obviously I lived in America for a large portion of my life, and I've been influenced by the African American community. Everybody has that's lived here. You can't the influence they have in culture is fucking huge, bro. You cannot deny that. They're a cultural force, right? So obviously I've been influenced by their culture for sure. So I have some of their slang. I grew up in African American communities. I grew up in some sketchy scenarios. And yeah, bro, for sure what he's talking about is so true. Because I also have some 4chan shit in there, bro. We're like, oh yeah, the fucking Goyim.
I definitely 4chan was a linguistic incubator for decades, and well, a decade, and all these new words came out of it that are still slowly diffusing into more mainstream culture, like maxing and pilled, and um,
I
gooning.
mean, it's being incorporated quite easily, honestly, I would say. I think maybe some people like Piers Morgan are struggling with that kind of language, but it's probably not that hard to wrap your head
What
around.
made 4chan such a useful incubator for language?
There's the anonymity on the platform where users need to demonstrate a shared proficiency in slang to show that they're not a normie. And there's this huge selection pressure to show that you're one of the 4chan users.
And because it's such a constrained platform, you can't do video, you can't do voice, you're not doing face, you don't know the identity of someone. You need to very quickly, through your language, identify I am one of you, not one of them.
Yeah, you can do like images and things, which that's how we get a lot of memes also come from there. But linguistically, yeah, there's
No one's posting a selfie, though, right? To say, this is me, I am one of us.
in the sense that language is identity.
Yeah.
100% of these people on 4chan are also trying to build a shared identity for themselves.
Self-branding, belonging.
And it's cool to come up with the new joke. And language spreads when it's funny. It does. We like saying things that are
True.
funny. That's reasonable. It's funny to say on podcast maxing.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I am. I have been for 8 years now. I am podcast maxing. What about newscasters? How come they speak so strangely?
They're doing the exact same thing. This just in. And they speak in this authoritative kind of manner. It's
Right.
doing the exact same thing as the educational influencer, really. It's a way of grabbing attention that's conditioned to a certain medium. And there's a broadcaster voice, just as there's an
You expect it too when you're tuning into these certain channels, right? Like you're tuning into the news, you're expecting someone with the news voice that's authoritative. So like, yeah, we do come to expect it.
influencer voice. There's they used to train like American broadcasters to use this Midwestern U.S. accent. That was kind of the homogenous U.S. accent, and that was also a way of presenting in an accepted, this is how a TV broadcaster is supposed to speak kind of way. And at
And then
home,
it
they might still
caught
use like a
on.
local
Okay.
accent, speak in a different way.
It's interesting that that becomes enforced over time just through consensus and expectation. That there's some first mover somewhere, maybe one person's particularly effective. There's a legendary newscaster, and this guy speaks in a way, and then the generation around him shaped because that seems to be a successful approach. Therefore, you see this online. Someone has a new thumbnail style, and now everybody's doing thumbnails like that. Or somebody does a new video style, and everyone's doing videos like that.
Well, if it's going viral for sure, people are copying it, and then it's like a fucking snowball effect, or more people will see it, more people will incorporate it, and then eventually the trend becomes so popular it fucking dies, and there's a new thing coming along, and everybody does the same thing all over again. Yeah, for sure. I think I see this a lot in like Instagram. Like one new specific short form content will go viral, and then everyone will try to copy that shit. And then a new one goes viral, everyone will copy that shit, bro. It's fucking crazy. But I mean, I think that's just the game. I think that's just it is what it is. Do you play it any differently? I don't know if you can, realistically.
It's the same thing, but with the accent for newscasters. And then that becomes not only something effective for his colleagues at the time, but it's now shaping the entire future, and that's the expectation. Well, that's how newscasters speak. And if you were to come in and you would speak in a different manner, that would be very
Excuse
different.
me, damn.
Right, that's what I was saying about the founder effect, and you kind of follow in the footsteps of people before you. For example, for my educational influencer accent, probably it's highly influenced by people like Hank Green or something, Vsauce. They were the early educational influencers, and they're probably copying people like Bill Nye or something. So it always trickles back to something earlier. You exist in the context.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Gymshark. I've tried
Bro,
pretty much
skip. I love Chris, support him, but
because they're doing
skip.
something similar but a little bit distinct and different.
Yeah, if news broadcasters are the equivalent of educational influencers, then sports commentators are kind of closer to Mr. Beast. They want to keep you excited. Goal! You know, like it's very exciting. They want to keep you excited
Okay.
about watching the game, and that's reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, but speaking with a lot of clarity again, super expressive. There's not much, or I don't see very many filler words with those people, which I guess is because it's trained out of them. I have to imagine that over time, if you're looking to maximize relatability, authenticity, a felt sense of belonging, what you're actually going to do is not sterilize your use of language too much to make it too precise, that then
Right.
feels contrived as opposed to something that's naturalistic.
You want to hit a fine line. I mean, think about like phone calls in movies. They famously never say goodbye. They just finish saying something and they hang up. Because in real life, we do the whole like, all right, I'll see you later, goodbye. But in a movie, that doesn't really work. So you do actually make it more concise.
No, wait, because it would just waste screen time.
It'd
We
waste
don't
screen
need
time.
to hear you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay. Well, have a good. Yep, it's fine. Yeah, no worry. Yeah, I'll catch you later. Goodbye. I mean, 5 seconds that you didn't need in the movie.
So it's performing the idea of a phone call while not actually doing phone call as we actually do it.
I never thought about that. Holy shit. But sterilizing language too much obviously puts it across. You did a
Makes you
great
seem
TED
like
talk.
a robot, no?
I did a TEDx talk 5-6 years ago or something now. And one of the things that I realized as I was getting ready for that and doing the preparation was I actually need to detrain my knowledge of my own talk in a way so
What do
that
you mean?
it doesn't sound too contrived, so it doesn't sound too performative.
There's that idea of what a TED Talk sounds like. I mean, there's a great video on YouTube of like guy just doing TED Talk by saying things that don't mean anything, but he's saying in the cadence of a TED Talk.
So yeah.
Definitely recommend looking that up. But yeah, there's you know what I mean when I say there's a cadence of what a TED Talk sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of dead. I think it's in the past, and
TED Talks are
TED
dead.
Talks are also they've lost a lot of their prestige of what it was, and the way
For
people should be doing
sure.
TED Talks now is just clip farming, which is the future.
The way that people should be doing TED Talks now is just clip farm. So if you get booked for a TED Talk, you should just try and get clip farmed.
I think so.
How would you do that?
What actually matters, like, I don't know.
I'm
the
so
audience
down.
of TED Talk is,
Give Clav a TED Talk.
I guess, aspirational speakers themselves.
Give Andrew Tate a TED
or,
Talk, bro.
like, if you have a real message to say, it's probably not the audience that's there. It's probably better if you transmit it on the internet, because you could reach that audience.
Reach more people.
And
True.
that's the idea behind 6-7 and behind Jester Maxing and all that stuff, is that distribution matters more than the content itself. That you just
Interesting.
saying the thing that goes viral. And if we're existing in a age of social media virality, the TED Talk is kind of a dead format.
It is.
Existing as
Look
this
at their numbers.
quasi-online
They're
talk,
dead.
which was fantastic in the early days of YouTube when there wasn't enough content going on.
Yep.
But now the media ecosystem is oversaturated, and the TED Talks have way fewer views than they used to, because they don't do the same function that they did in the early internet.
Well, especially because one video you can write a book.
It's
and then
crazy. It's crazy to think about the evolution of the internet throughout time, and how like TED Talks were the fucking end all be all. PewDiePie was the biggest fucking thing ever, the biggest gamer, the most subscribed YouTuber, and then there was a shift of like corporate media, especially I remember this from PewDiePie, where like he was number one YouTuber, independent dude. That was the vibe. YouTube was an independent like creator platform. Now I think it's more company media based, where that's the only way you can thrive, you know. But I mean, fuck it, what are you gonna do? Got a ball regardless, man.
sentence can be
I mean, shit changes all the time anyway, so you gotta just adapt to the game. That's always in front of you.
sold individually, and then even those sentences can be reproduced and reproduced and reproduced, and individual productions of those can be reshared. So yeah, you're actually looking for as much distribution as possible. When what was it called? The HH bomb thing that happened with the guys in the Miami club where they played that Kanye song and went insane bar. That was every single second of that video was broken down and shared and reshared and published and republished and commented on, and that's a single book just being sold word by word, essentially.
And what that points to is that there is a dangerous misalignment between human preferences, like I can imagine that most of us don't think that song is good for humanity, and then what goes viral online. Because online there are certain emotions that are rewarded more than others. There's anger, fear, awe, humor. things that trigger a state of mental arousal where your brain is more activated. Now, things that don't do that is like contentment. Contentment makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, but it doesn't trigger your brain to click a like.
The algorithm does not push for contentment. No. It wants you to be active. It wants your emotions to go crazy. It wants you to either be sad or super happy or super mad or something, but it does not want you just content, bro.
Button. The like button, of course, is more of a metric of how willing you are to click this button than it is whether you like something. And you're more willing to click a button if your brain is activated. And your brain's not activated when you feel warm and fuzzy, which means warm and fuzzy ideas are not going to spread online. The things that are going to spread are rage bait and clickbait.
That's so fascinating. So if you're a
That's so key.
meditation
That's so
teacher,
key.
by design, because you make people feel good and you get them out of that brain mode, you're going to get less engagement, which means that you're going to go less viral, which means there's less of an incentive for you to keep doing your content.
Look at the wellness space. The same way movie phone calls perform what it's like to be a phone call, wellness influencers are performing the idea of wellness, but it's this hyper aestheticized, sanitized, clean girl thing where you're on a yoga mat doing Pilates or whatever. But that doesn't, you're presenting this hyper wellness idea. That's not true wellness. And if you're actually feeling warm and fuzzy, you don't need to prove that to other people. You don't need to play like you're feeling good.
Yeah, you're not doing yoga in the living room with your floor-to-ceiling windows and your...
I was not expecting this podcast to hit on some heavy truths like that, but this man's spitting wisdom, bro. I did not have high hopes for him, but he's fucking killing it, not gonna lie.
Waving sage everywhere. You're sat on the couch relaxing.
Sometimes it's just watching a movie is, sitting on the couch.
But not sufficiently visually interesting, so it wouldn't be compelling for people. What about the gay male accent? What's going on there?
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of research on...
Performative.
Well, emerging research on lesbian accent as well, but gay accent, that there is a certain way of talking that, of course, will differ between different communities, and it's not a monolith. But, you can recognize when somebody talks in a gay accent.
For sure.
There's a few sociological things going on. I think it's incorrect to say that they talk more like women, but they adopt many strategies that are similar to how women have talked. They raise certain vowels, and they will, and it's all kind of the same identity thing. It's historically a way, like the gay slang words, which is a lot of our Gen Z slang words, also come from gay ballroom speech.
What, like?
Oh, like slay, serve, queen, cooked, ate.
Cooked is gay?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that well, there's cooking and cooked, which come from different sources. Cooking is sports slang.
Yeah. Playing well.
Yeah.
Unreal. So I wonder if there's stuff that even we wouldn't notice, that there's little identifiers in the gay community, like top speak in one way and bottom speak in another. Or I guess there's guys that present in a much more masculine manner, and there's guys that present in a much more feminine manner. Interesting conversation I had over dinner. Probably best to have it over dinner. Looking at what it is, the presentation that most straight men notice in gay men, and what they notice is what you said, which is, are you coding as female? Not as female, but in a manner that somebody who isn't a part of that culture would identify as feminine.
I'm going to sound like a broken clock, but everything is performing the idea of something. And so gay men perform the idea of being gay, which is fine. Straight men perform the idea of being straight. And it's also a way to signal to other people. Like, historically, gay men had to be closeted, and they needed ways of...
I think what I want to touch upon this. Everyone is always acting out something. You're an actor, whether you know it or not. You're always acting out something, whether it's a goal you have in mind or an action or whatever the fuck you want to call it. There is always something you are acting out currently. If you're watching this video, you're acting out the performance of watching the video and hearing it and analyzing and think about the fucking sounds that I'm making. Shit like that. You're always fucking active, bro.
Signaling to other gay men that, hey, I'm chill and we should hang out, and that's sort of linguistically, there are little cues you can drop that hint at I'm a gay man.
Right. What, like?
Well, using certain slang words.
Right.
Like, I'm thinking about, like, I don't know, cottaging in Britain, but when homosexuality was illegal. There's, like, certain ways of tapping your foot or Polari was a whole gay cant, like a kind of a micro language created in England that was used specifically by gay people as a way of evading detection by police because
No
police
way.
didn't know what was going on. And it
Jesus.
was a way of
Sorry
signaling a
for that.
shared identity for themselves. And we see sort of gay micro languages emerge everywhere. In the Philippines, there's one called Sward Speak. There's one in South Africa. Every community, because gay people
The
have been
gays are
historically
everywhere.
kind of marginalized, they need ways to come up with subversion of the traditional norms of language.
Do you know what capoeira is?
Oh,
It sounds
the
British.
fuck, bro?
It's a Brazilian martial art.
Brazilian is what I meant.
So,
yeah.
capoeira was a martial art developed in Brazil when they were under a military rule and they weren't allowed to practice fighting because they didn't want there to be a military force
Yeah.
that could rise up. So this thing, if you watch a video of it, looks very distinctive, very dancey. It kind of looks like that. I mean, it very quickly gets into a fighting art, but that makes me think about gay guys in Britain before
What
it
the
was
hell?
legal having to have a secret language, and Brazilian martial art developed by Africans taken to the country as slaves. That was it. So they weren't allowed to practice fighting, and they've got music that goes with it as well, which would be a way to hide what was going on. Oh, it's just a party. We don't need to worry about that. It's just a party. And yeah,
Wow. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
yeah.
So instead of partying,
Well,
they
if
were
we accept
fighting.
that language is a tool of identity,
Interesting.
identity is tied to power.
Fuck it.
Who's in control is part of your identity. And so we see the English language, which is defined by these white British people in the 1700s or whatever, and we're still
Love
following
them.
the norms. Yeah, yeah.
Love them.
But it doesn't represent all the speakers of English. And so different speakers try to come up with different ways to subvert that structure that's imposed upon them. And so a lot of that has been African American English speakers who now have come up with a lot of slang words that later bled into mainstream Gen Z slang. Or specifically gay people, because these were straight white men creating language. And so it's a way of subverting, of establishing their own norms of language.
Hmm.
King and queen, for example, like the slang word "What's up, king?" Like that, or "What's up, queen?" That comes from ballroom slang in New York City in the 1980s, which is this like black, gay, Latino space.
Black, gay, Latino
Black
space.
and Latino, gay, gay people.
Black gay
in New York
Latino
City.
space. What is this man
And it was
talking
a
about?
way of elevating people in that community. I see you on the status of royalty,
Right.
because we are not seen as that by
This
society.
is not
And
good.
that even goes back even further to the history of kind of like black people in the United States. A lot of slang goes from black people to gay people, and then to like the straight white girlfriends of gay men, and then to the mainstream English.
Right. Okay. So
There's
there's
a pipeline.
I'd
yeah.
say
full
spot
person
on,
human
bro. And
centipede with
honestly, I think we gotta leave it at that. That's such a that's such a crazy thought to have in mind, but I got shit to do, and that was fucking a good 30 minutes. But yeah, that guy was spot on, bro. That's fucking crazy. Did not expect it to be that good. But yeah, fucking good shit. Appreciate the love. We got like 96 views this time in like 37 minutes, so not fucking bad, bro. I'm happy. I'm happy with it for sure. Appreciate y'all showing love. Muchas gracias, mis amigos. Bye bye.